Hello, hello?
Hello?
Hello? Is anyone out there?
It's a mom's night out.
Tonight, we have Kristina Coccoluto, who's a BRCA Previvor, mom of 3 kids, a melanoma survivor, a 3-star world major marathoner who's working toward the Abbott Medal, and most recently, an inspirational speaker. Her story of using marathons as a distraction from her health journey was recently told on Today.com, and she's here tonight to talk about her bravest decision of all, choosing herself. We know Kristina because our kids go to school together, and we've been watching her blossom over the past year. I think that all 3 of us and Kristina wanted the listeners to know that this episode is for everybody. We know that sometimes a topic like this can feel heavy, but Kristina is wise beyond her years with resounding clarity and positivity on the future. She's also really funny. This episode will make you laugh, cry, and will leave you feeling so inspired. There is magic in community and sharing your story, and we hope you'll enjoy this episode tonight. Welcome to A Mom's Night Out, everybody.
Cheers.
Welcome, Kristina.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We have a really amazing episode tonight, and we're just going to dive right into it.
Okay. So, Kristina, when you found your first lump, what went through your mind? Knowing your odds, did you go to that worst case scenario?
Of course. So I was 29 years old, which at 29, it's obviously not normal to be obsessively thinking about your breast health. But at the same time, for me, I had an 87% risk of that lump being cancer at some point. Wow. So when you find a lump, it automatically sends you to the worst case scenario. I mean, like I planned my funeral, I'll be honest with you. I immediately looked to Chris and was like, okay, so I don't want a traditional Catholic funeral. Let's be straight. And
I just got the chills.
I just got such
But
chills.
like, it was like comedic relief for me at the time because I was like, it will make me feel better to control the whole thing if I know ahead of time.
Yeah.
But also you have to understand, so I grew up watching every woman in my family also get diagnosed. So it's kind of all I knew and expected it to happen. So the only way to reduce your risk when you are BRCA positive is to have surgery. There are other ways that are less kind of proven in the meantime that you can do to hold off. So you could take tamoxifen, which puts you into chemical menopause, or the other option is just surveillance. So those are the options right now. And surveillance is basically just waiting for when. But a lot of times you would say, so you would automatically assume like, well, of course you would have surgery, right?
Yeah.
But there's a trade-off, especially when you're young.
Yeah.
So when you're
29.
That was
29,
That was going to be my next question for you. How did you decide to have your double mastectomy and your hysterectomy? And you didn't have them both at once.
No, of course not. So I think like you have to, one of the hardest parts about being a Previvor is the timing of everything. So you're trying to figure out, when, and it's really hard. I have to say, I was in a really blessed position in the sense that when I found out I was BRCA positive, I had been with my husband, who's my high school boyfriend. So
Wait, I didn't know that.
yes, Chris is my high school sweetheart.
Did you guys
How
know
many
that?
years have you been together?
20.
Oh my God.
Holy
Congrats.
crow.
That
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Yeah. So we've been together almost 21 years. Yeah.
See, you learned something new.
So I felt like I was really secure in that that's where my relationship was going.
Yeah.
So when I found out, I was like, okay, here are the stats for being BRCA positive and what this means for me. So you need to get on the whole engagement thing. Like we need to do this because the question becomes, when are you having babies? When are you removing your breasts? And when are you removing your ovaries? And so you kind of also need to know that in order to reduce your risk even further, you need to have your first baby before 30.
You're kidding.
So that's another way to reduce your risk from breast cancer.
Okay,
So
talk about pressure. Like having,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I was
mean,
gonna
you
say,
were
like,
lucky that you had someone, but
If
what
you
about the
don't-
women that don't?
right,
Yeah, like,
exactly.
was your doctor pushing you, or was that just like
Facts.
you knowing from
Facts. Like
from
you
like
sit
watching
down.
your family?
Yeah,
Got
no,
it.
you sit. No, the doctors will sit down and say like, these are the facts. And so when I first heard it, I remember the only person that I knew that was like me was Angelina Jolie. And I just looked like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. Like Angelina Jolie, actually, when I found out I was BRCA positive, she wasn't openly talking about it then. Like she had not had her risk reducing surgeries. But when the article did come out afterwards, I'm referring to the New York Times article and the Time Magazine ones. There were 2 where she talked about what this was like because she lost her mom to ovarian cancer. It did shed a light, but there was a lot of criticism. So people kind of automatically assume that if you're having a mastectomy, and this sounds wild now, but you have to understand with times how things change. People spoke out saying that it was just wanting plastic surgery, just wanting a boob job. A mastectomy is an amputation. It is the furthest thing from a boob job. It is not a boob job.
Wow.
What was the question? No.
Yeah, no, I think that was it.
No, that was what, yeah.
But for like women who are facing like your situation and have these surgeries, like, you know, kind of weighing on them.
Yes, it's awful.
What do you say to them?
You just have to take it one day at a time and have a knowing that there are some people that I know. So there's a lot to this. There are women who realize that maybe they don't want to have children because they don't want to have, there's a 50% chance that that child will also inherit the mutation. So I have 3 kids and each of them have their own individual risk of inheriting this mutation. So let me just start off by saying that all of us have the BRCA gene. You have the BRCA gene. You have the BRCA gene. Mine's mutated. What that means is my cells, as they repair every day, they don't repair the same way yours are because my genetic link is broken. And so if my cells have something wonky in them because, I don't know, I didn't have a green juice that day, I'm just being dramatic, but like in general, if there was something in my system, it would cause it to form a tumor much faster than in a regular person. And it usually starts in the breast and the ovaries. So that's why the risk is so high.
Science is amazing. I just have to say that like knowing is such power, I feel like. And I know that's like, but I just think like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, can I ask how you knew that you were BRCA positive? Because I don't think I ever thought about this. Is it because you lost someone?
No. So how I knew I was BRCA positive was not because I wanted to know, which was really funny to me. I know you would think crazy at 25. So also have what we know today as breast cancer culture are pink ribbons and rah sisterhood and supporting somebody. Yeah. But not long ago, like in our lifetime, it was shameful to have breast cancer and it was something that you had
People
hidden.
did not talk about it.
I feel like people still don't talk about it a lot. I know some women who have gone through it silently.
Yes. Because they feel like they're losing a part of their sexual self, their femininity. They don't want to come off as a martyr saying, look at me. And they feel like it could be drawing negative attention to them when they don't want it to. And also people don't know how to react when you have cancer. And a lot of people in the cancer community lose their friends. That's a sad reality.
Really?
Well, if your friend's really down, sometimes people don't know how to stay down with you because you're going to be in it for a while. And once you have cancer, you never are the same and it doesn't go back to normal ever. Your life's changed forever.
Right.
It doesn't go back. So like if you have fear and anxiety and scans come up, it's hard for people to hold space. Not everybody understands what that's like to kind of grow up or deal with or be around an oncology unit and what that fear feels like. It's overwhelming.
I can't even imagine.
No, it's your life flashing before your eyes all of the time because you're wondering like, could it come back? Will I be next? Will it come back somewhere else? Right. Am I going to live a full life? Like
every scan you're going in and probably just expecting the worst.
Every time.
Imagine.
How I found out actually was I was with my boyfriend, now husband, and we were having the conversation about birth control. And you would say like, okay, but weren't you on birth control? And I wasn't because of my breast cancer risk and the data that at the time was so conflicting. It was like, should I not? I don't know. Is taking a synthetic form of estrogen going to cause breast cancer? Knowing my history. So I got serious about this conversation with my OBGYN. And at the time she was like, well, no, you should be on birth control because it will reduce your ovarian cancer risk. And that's still true. So I was like, okay. She's like, but you really need to think about getting genetically tested. And at the time, I do not recommend the way that this went down for me. I just took a blood test and I did not have genetic counseling. You really, if you are looking at your family health history, you need genetic counseling. And what that is when somebody kind of talks to you about what it means if you are positive and how you go forward. Because if you don't know that, then it becomes really difficult once you find those results are, because you're going to WebMD it, right?
Yeah, you're going to Google
sit there.
It's not going to be great.
No, and you're just going to start catastrophizing everywhere. Like, okay, this is not a great outcome. So what does this look like for me going forward? And I think that as a 25-year-old, not knowing those things, and you would think that I would talk to my mom about it or talk to my aunt, but there was so much fear in our family about it that it was like, I'll just avoid that. I'll avoid that conversation. I don't want to. Yeah. So, but I also have 2 younger sisters. So when I found out I was positive, it didn't surprise me at all, but I did not know the protocol meant for going forward every 6 months for the rest of my life until I chose to remove my breasts. I would be having a mammogram alternating with an MRI.
Wow.
And so when you're 25 having a mammogram, when the minimum age is 40, you walk into the waiting room and you're an outlier and everybody's looking at you like, that's something wrong. And so you kind of take on that energy of when you're walking like something's wrong. I feel like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you get really smart by seeing, okay, if you get pulled into that room, you're going to hear that you're okay. And if you get pulled into that room, you can hear the sobs coming from that room because they have more support in that room. I can see that. So each week you'd go, which room, like whenever you're going, am I going to get pulled into that room or am I not going to get pulled in this week?
Oh my gosh.
So I would go in with so much, like I would shake and feel anxiety. And
yeah,
but also going to your boss at 25 and being like, I'm not going to be in today. I'm having a mammogram. They look at you like, what do you mean you're having a mammogram again?
Right.
Like, really? You're 25. And like, then feeling like you have to over explain. And again, it wasn't widely talked about. It wasn't in the news. So it's like, do you have cancer? Like what's going on? You have to go to Dana-Farber again and you're fine. Like it's,
right.
So it's one of those things like you look healthy. So I was like, okay. So I felt like I was always carrying over explaining myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, never feeling like anyone truly understood.
Yeah, what you were
living
going
in
through.
fear and anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
Constantly.
For sure. But then it was, so when I did make the decision, it was because I found a lump. And so when I found that lump, it was February of 2015. And in Boston, we know that is the year where the snow did not melt until May. It was past the stop signs. I actually called my breast surgeon. That was the one that I saw every time. And at the time I was not having surgery, but she was the same woman that reviewed everything. And I said, I found a lump in the shower and I'm pretty sure I haven't breastfed in like 2 years. I don't know if it's a clogged milk duct or what, but I'm panicking and I'm shaking and I feel like I'm going to throw up. And she's like, you can come right in. We'll do it right now. I'll move everything. Come on in.
Wow. What an amazing woman.
So, well, they know my risk too. So I went right in and so this is like where I kind of make jokes, but it's really funny. So after breastfeeding, had one boob that was like a D and one that was like a small B. So I was laughing because as you go for your first mammogram, you realize like they have to make miracles happen if you have a small boob. So I was laughing, like putting it, you have to like place your breast and you can't really see this on a podcast, but you have to like place it on a plate. And there's a woman kneading your dough, like it's like pizza dough. She's like kneading your breast down.
It's not an easy experience from
no,
what
but
I
if
understand.
you have a small titty, it ain't happening either. Like she's like flopping it in and I'm like, okay, I'm not like sweating this out or anything. And so I'm like, have you ever dealt with one this small before? Just like joking. So she puts like everything up and you can see the like radiologist come in and read it and I'm watching faces change and I'm feeling it all. And I'm just like, she's like, do you have someone you'd like to call? Because I want you to know we can see a solid mass. And I just was like, yeah. And my daughter at the time, Sienna, was here. She was 15 months.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember just thinking, I was 7 years old when my aunt was diagnosed, and I was 10 when my mom was. And I spent majority of my elementary school years watching the women in my family like lose their hair, get violently ill, go through surgeries. And I was like, my daughter's going to have the same experience. I have to deal with this. And so I knew right then and there that I was ready no matter what. It was either coming for me and I had no choice or I had a choice. So I knew I had to do something. And that's where the action felt really empowering. But so the thing is about when it comes to this point, when you're really young and you're in like the peak of motherhood, of coming up with your identity, I think what's really important to shift while we're having this conversation is to say that it's really hard in those moments. You would think that as moms, we're all so used to hearing that airplane analogy of like when the mask drops, put it on yourself first. I could not do that. Like I was immediately thinking of how my situation was impacting everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's something in motherhood, like you become accustomed to not choosing yourself.
Right.
And even though I'm choosing surgery and it is for me, it's also for everybody else. Because if I go down, like, oh my God, my family's screwed without me. Like that was the mindset that I had. What will my daughter's life be like without me? It immediately goes there.
Yeah. That actually is a great segue because I think we wanted to talk about that conversation that was happening at home. A lot of our listeners, obviously, Mom's Night Out are moms.
Yeah.
And so to that point, how were you approaching those conversations at home with, I mean, I know she was 15 months, so she was really young, but how did you approach conversations with your kids?
Yeah, because you just had a surgery pretty recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and your kids are older now.
So I knew when I had one child, part of having a mastectomy is losing your breast means no breastfeeding. So I breastfed, and I'm just going to be really blunt. I hated breastfeeding, but I kind of knew that was something for me that I felt like if you do not breastfeed your kids, they're not going to college based on the way that everybody. That's not the truth.
No,
that's how you're treated.
Not the truth, but it is how you're treated.
Treated
That
that
is
way.
how people approach it.
You're treated that
Even in
way
the
from
hospital.
the hospital.
Correct.
When you have a baby 30 seconds later, like if you say, no, I'm choosing not to breastfeed,
If
they're
you
like,
have a baby without breasts, it's the same thing. Like I got attacked each time.
What? You're
I feel like
kidding.
I
They
physically
didn't have like a
cannot.
note on
Oh,
your...
I was like, can you please put it in a neon sign on my door? I ended up hiring a doula so that I could have another person there so that nobody
Don't
was
ask
going
me
to
that.
ask me to, like take off my bra for skin to skin. I was like, no, I am not. I am not going to be on display. We are good. But there were so many. So what I'm saying is like people don't understand that not every story is the same. Not everyone who looks healthy is healthy. You just don't know what people have gone through, and people assume and judge. And so like if I whipped out like this, I will tell you in the town that we live in, when there is that wonderful moms group where people meet, I believe you all met through that group.
Yeah.
I would not go to that group because in the beginning, when you bring your baby, I hated bringing formula and having people shame me. Like it happened multiple times. So I was like, I'm good. I'm not going to make friends. It's fine. I'll sit at home isolated. No, and I say that in the nicest way because it was one of those things going. So we kind of skipped around here, but I'll say that I knew that I was ready to have surgery so that my daughter never had to fear for my life and she wouldn't remember. So we didn't have conversations for my mastectomy at the time while it was happening, but we certainly have had them afterwards. So my kids now know that my breasts are not real and that I do not have breasts. They've seen me naked when I shower. It's like a free for all. Everybody comes in. And so the thing is like conversations in my house happen, but we don't have them scary. And everyone's different in how they approach this. My belief is that you can have really difficult conversations and make it about health. So I tell my kids, just like you go to get a vaccine, like mom has to have the surgery to stay healthy. That was how I approached it with my children. This is to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like it's medicine to make you healthy. And like I had a complete hysterectomy last year, and when that happened,
Basically yesterday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then I had to have, I went into immediate surgical menopause. So like my whole life changed. I was like chemically 51 years old at 36. So as that was happening, I knew that, okay, my kids have never seen me take medicine and now they're going to watch me take estrogen. And so as I was having HRT and taking patches and doing all the things and trying things out, my daughter would be like, well, what's that sticker? And I'm like, that's to keep mom healthy. And that was just the way we kept it simple.
Yeah.
And keeping it simple worked for us. And my
That's great
kids, if any time they had any questions, it was positive. And I didn't shield them entirely, like mom's having a tough day because sometimes it's hard to stay healthy. That's what I would say.
That's really empowering because I feel like I would probably overshare in this situation. And I think you're probably coming from it as I don't want to put this fear on them, right? Like the fear that you had growing up, you don't want them to have that.
100%. But also my kids are aware of their own risk. So that was something that it was a choice. Last year, I had an opportunity to tell my story in front of a large crowd at the Boston Marathon the night before the marathon. And my kids were in the audience when there were over 1,000 people. And I wanted them to see that moment of me telling our family story. And I took a calculated risk saying, I'm going to share with everyone that my children, the reason why I believe in fighting for cancer research all of the time is because the difference in generations in my family is based on research, what my family has endured. I mean, I look at my mom is healthy in here, but her sister passed away at a really young age. And so the difference between me and my aunt is research. I know my risk because of research. I'm able to get ahead because of research. My children, I'm advocating for because my children, I hope, will be able to live their life and keep their body parts. There are lots of things in the groundworks now. And I said to myself, if I can get on stage and advocate for my children in front of all of these people, I want them to see that my children are here. And I want my children to know that I will do whatever it takes to make sure that they can live a long, empowered life. And so I talked to them. I have one child that's very anxious. And her immediate question afterwards was like, when will I have to get tested? Mm-hmm. And I said, when you're an adult and you'll have so much support, and no matter what the test results are, there will always be better protocols in place. So we don't need to think about it today, but I want you to know you are already who you are meant to be. So whatever the results are, it's fine. It will be fine. Look at mom. It's going to be better for you than it is for her.
Right.
And so she just was like, yeah. And it did not make her anxious, sad. I mean, I wept immediately afterwards, but I was like,
I know.
I feel like I'm going to cry right now.
You're so,
you're
that's like
amazing.
so strong.
You're an amazing mom.
But the thing is, thank you. But the thing is that like we all are. Everyone would do that because you see, like, do I want to break down every day if I think about what it was like? Yeah. But the thing is, so like there are options. If you are BRCA positive and you haven't had children, you can go through IVF. What happened was I did not realize I got pregnant with Sienna really quickly, kind of on accident. It was one of those things that was like one time and I got pregnant. Yeah. And so once I had her, I felt like there's no way I can go through IVF with my future children because what am I going to say? I calculated one child's safety in her BRCA risk and I didn't for my other children. I felt like that was like playing God for me, and some people can and they feel good. That was not a decision that was right for me. Yeah. So I felt like I can't do that. You know, when you're a mom, you want to try to make everything equal. And even that, I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah. Easter baskets have to be equal.
Yes. Everything's
everything. Birthday presents.
Everything.
So I really appreciate that. Okay. You and I feel like you have a great social media presence, and you talk on your social media a lot about how you have started choosing yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And you felt like this was almost an empowering new thing for you. Talk about what choosing yourself really means to you as a mom and as this Previvor that you are.
So choosing yourself can mean a lot of different things to different people. And we talked about, you know, the airplane mask analogy first, but so in the beginning of motherhood, I could not choose myself. I deeply struggled to choose myself in the sense that if my husband was like, why don't you get out and go to a workout class? You used to love to do that. Go do that. I would be like, I have to do the dishes first and I have to wash the bottle. Like you couldn't liberate me from the things. Like I had to be done my way.
I don't think you're alone. Like I think a lot of women struggle with that.
And I think like what you're saying also resonates with why so many women just cannot choose themselves.
No. And so, but the thing is that like,
it's wrong.
But at the same time, I think there's a time and place for choosing yourself too. Like sometimes in the beginning of motherhood, it is really hard to choose yourself because you do feel the pressure. You're tired. So sometimes it's like choosing yourself does mean staying in. Sometimes choosing yourself is like, I don't really feel like socializing right now. Like that's also hard when you're trying to make new friends and deal. And like, if you're not, like, I remember when I had like, I did not have postpartum, but I did a baby blues where I was really insecure with some of the things that were going on in my life, like breastfeeding. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to feel like I could get triggered and then cry and then be that lady that's crying over breast milk, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's so, in the beginning, I would say, like, it's really, if you're a new mom, it's so hard to choose yourself. Oh. It gets better, though. It does get better.
It's such a good message.
Right? We all, like, and so you have 3 children. I have 3 children.
Yeah, look at this.
Children. I mean, you have 2 children.
I'm the outlier here.
No, but like we have all these children, but our children are getting older, and we're just now starting to choose ourselves.
Yeah. So my oldest is 10, right? My oldest is 10. I have a 10, 7, and 4-year-old, and now that I'm choosing myself, I think that I take this as saying, like, if you are in the position where you're not choosing yourself right now, feel empowered knowing that someday you can choose yourself. Yes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And all of it is, and everybody hates this saying, but all of it's happening for you in a way you can't see. Yeah. So one of the things that I like to talk about, and maybe this kind of will drive the car, so to speak, is that we all, when you are a mom, you are in the driver's seat. You are a driver. Right? You're the driver of the family. You're driving your life. God knows you're in your car all day long,
So
right?
true.
Literally.
I'm like,
You are
living
literally
in the
the
girls.
driver.
I'm like, whoa, I never thought of it like that.
You're the driver. But as a woman that is on a mission to do whatever it is that you want to do, you need to be the driver. But actually, guys are too. We're all every single human being is the driver of their life. There are going to be detours. There are going to be roadblocks. There's going to be fog on the road. There's always going to be something that has you not being able to see clearly or see the whole picture. But the reality is when you realize that you're always the one to drive your car and you're taking the wheel, then your life is going to naturally unfold if you just believe that you are on the road toward where you need to go always. And so I started embodying that energy in my social media presence. And it's not because I'm looking here to be an influencer. I'm looking to show anybody that once you choose yourself, once you decide that this is it, I have one life and I don't really care if you're following along being like, oh God, who does she think she is? Talking about like today it was the colostrum powder that I cannot stand.
I love that. It made me laugh. I was like, I can't try that either.
I like every influencer is going on and on about this colostrum. So I was like, I have to try it. And then everyone's like, don't you know you should buy the watermelon flavored one? I'm like, I didn't. I signed up for a subscription and in girl math it was cheaper. So
well, I got both.
Yeah, that was at the time that Katie ordered colon blue.
Oh yeah. Don't tell everyone that. I have some. You can leave with some.
There's a party pack coming home later.
Yeah, you can take some home.
It's awful.
Well, you know what? I feel like, we have to be on social media a lot now for the podcast, and I'm sure there's people watching being like, ew, they're so cringe. And to your point, like, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, but you know what? Okay, so let's talk about that. So if you are cringing at anybody else, all that is actually showing you a mirror that you actually kind of want that a little bit.
Boom! All right, episode over.
No way. Let's keep going here.
Holy shit.
It is. It's a mirror. But okay, take that. So you just got triggered by somebody.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay because guess what? I'm going to tell you, I've been there. I've actually looked at other people and be like, oh my God, I'm like, look at her loving herself, And
we all do it.
Wait, don't listen. I don't do that anymore. I'm the first one now that's like, hell yeah, you go. And it's because I did want those things. So take it as an opportunity. Like people say, triggers are glimmers. That's a glimmer into healing.
I never heard that before.
Stop. Okay,
Kristina, you're like speaking right to me.
Yeah,
right
you need
now.
to like
I
keep
actually,
going. So many good quotes.
we've been like, we'll
see you next week on Mom's Night Out.
We're like, we're sick of the word trigger, but holy shit, I love triggers are glimmers.
Yes.
Again, mic drop.
Yes. So it's a glimmer into where you need to heal, where you need to go and where you need to go. So like a lot of us struggle with being seen, right? So we don't want to be seen as something, whether it's no matter what it is. So for example, in my story, I actually had a really hard time being seen as a Previvor. So I did not like telling my truth because I always felt like somebody else has it worse. So Jesus, Kristina, what are you going to do? Start acting like your life's so bad because you're not going to have breast cancer. You removed your breasts ahead of time. You're going to be fine. So don't get out in front of everybody and start talking about it. So then I didn't tell my story, but then I realized, who am I not serving by not telling my story? All of the people just like me who are dying to see somebody living their life, living well, and moving on past this and feeling independent and strong and living her best life.
And by the way, I love that so much. I bet we have a lot of listeners I know that know somebody who is dealing with this, who have dealt with it themselves, maybe silently, or who have sisters or mothers who have dealt with this. So there's so many women like you, and nobody is telling the story.
No.
Well, even if there are other people telling their story, but it's great because here's another thing. Like let's also address this in this moment. Somebody else can be telling a very similar story to you, and you are not competition with those people.
Yes.
Also love that.
There's room for everybody at the table.
Yeah,
everyone.
No, and the reality is you can become community with these people and grow together, and it's community over competition always. And the energy going into who you are and who you want to be, if you're carrying the energy of like, oh, there's a competitor of mine, you're going to always be inferior. because
Yes.
that isn't going to elevate you. You have to think about what's highest and best for who you're serving always. And so if I get on social media and maybe one day I'm complaining about how my kids are XYZ or whatever, I'm showing everybody my real life to an extent of my real life so that like, you know, I give someone some privacy somewhere, but I show my life in all different areas, not because I need to stay in my niche, in my lane, in one area of only talking about breast cancer. The reality is that I want everyone who's just like me to be able to know that you can have a normal life. And so
Wait, do you have a therapist? Can we have her number?
I've done a lot of healing work on myself because I can honestly say if you knew me like 6 years ago, it was not this version of me.
Okay.
And it's because I think that when you really dig deep into where you do see things that are negative and popping up for you. So here's another one. We'll go right to it is victimhood is another area where you can like look at me right now. Okay. I had an 87% risk of getting a disease that killed people in my family. I am also a survivor of melanoma.
Yeah.
I had my breast removed before being done having children. I'm in surgical menopause. There have been things that are unfair. And I was not doing well with them. And the reason why I say it just like that is it was like the woe is me vibes were there. It was like, I'm getting fucked. Like,
Yeah,
this.
like how do you get unstuck?
Yeah.
So you get unstuck when you really, truly start to see that that's not where you want to be. And once you decide that you're choosing you, like it comes back to that. I'm choosing the fact that if I want to live, I would have to close my eyes. I'm really good at visualizing, so good that like I gave birth without drugs. And I will brag about that to all these moms out there that I had all the Pitocin pumping through me and I gave birth in 13 minutes without any pain and didn't make a noise because I visualized the most peaceful birth and my most insane child came into this world so beautifully. Amelia came in very quietly.
Wow. Wow.
But I'm saying that in an intense way.
Jen's like, my unmedicated birth was not like that at all.
They're like,
No.
ma'am, be quiet. You're scaring people.
No, and I will tell you, it's because visualization for me works. So if you're stuck in your life, this is like, this is gold. Okay. If you're stuck in your life, what you want to do is visualize future you. You want to visualize future you winning, and you want to look back at you right now. What would future you say to you right now? Now, here's how I know that this works, right? Like you can think about like
It's like
spiritual.
manifestation.
Spiritually,
We believe in that full force because
Yes.
we've seen it actually work.
But if you think about how much of your brain wastes thinking about past you.
Oh, God.
If you every time felt like you were getting triggered by your past, put yourself in your future and looked at future Katie, future Mandy, future Jenny.
Yeah.
And instead we're looking back at all of the wins that you're going to have. This is how you become a magnet for what you want.
It's so true.
You take your mind and you put it where it needs to go rather than where it's been.
Well, it's kind of like, I'm sure we all have friends who feel like, and maybe it does seem like that stuff is always going wrong for them. Like they can never like get it right. They can never.
It's the victimhood mindset.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you just like everything like the negativity latches onto them, and it
because
just like
that's what they're doing, right? So if you flip the script, like you're saying,
Yes.
and picture yourself winning, that's how you.
Yeah. So like literally I can tell you that when you are in a down, because like we've
all been there.
Yeah, we've all had bad things.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is the human experience. Everyone has their shit.
Yeah.
That's everybody. And so just because now you're seeing me talk about it, if I'm public with it, it does not mean that there's no such thing as healed.
Yeah.
You're healing always.
Constantly,
And it's a practice. It's a daily practice. It's a one day you're up, one day you're down, and you just kind of like go with the ebbs and flows with it, but you have to bring yourself back to where you want to go. And that's always, I think, when you're that's how you manifest. It's not just putting down a vision board and gluing shit on it. It's literally like taking your future self and visualizing the
living
wins.
it every day.
Yeah, in your mind, taking yourself there.
So I have to ask. So I feel like we're going through this right now, right?
Tell me.
Like we are in the podcast and we've like started something and we're visualizing it and we're spending all of our free time working on it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so and I would think that this is sort of like the new us, right? Like we are transforming, we're growing. So as you did this, how has that impacted your husband who you've been with for 20 years? And I bring this up because I think this is something too that like personally,
dealing with.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we all
going
are.
through. So how have you guys, sort of have these visualization practices together? Do you openly have like conversations about like where you want to go?
We can appreciate that.
No. If I have conversations with my husband, it's like, unload the dishwasher.
Why is your underwear in the kitchen?
Pick that shit up right now.
You're like, feed the children.
No,
please.
and no.
Thank you for that honest answer.
Yes, always. So this is why, like on social media, it's like, I'm not going to bullshit you and be like, oh my God, we're together for 20 years because we're the happiest couple. Like half the time it's like, ew. Like that's,
That's how I've been touched all day. Get away from me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I was like, even, it's just like, yeah, I have makeup on, not for you.
It's for the podcast.
Yeah, it's for all the people listening to my voice. No, but honestly, I think that the best way to kind of, as you are changing, is to let go parts of yourself too with love and grace and say like, it's okay if I'm not the person. And so also if you do have things that they need to be looped in, obviously you talk about it, but sometimes what's funny is when you become really good at attracting these things and when you start blowing up like you knew you were going to, that's when everybody's going to start accepting that this is you. And they just know that that's who you are now. And it doesn't, like, I don't have to talk like it. So what was really funny, my story was told by the Today Show.
Yes. Which by the way, amazing.
Yeah. So I will tell you both, all three of you, Katie already knows, I don't have a publicist. My story I did not put my story to someone. It actually just came out because the person that helped me, I know this is like sidetracked. I don't want to.
No, I love it. Keep going.
So I'll tell you.
You're on a roll.
Okay.
It's the universe.
It's coming through, people.
Yeah.
So part of my story is that last year after my hysterectomy, I ran the Boston Marathon, and it was not ideal for me. And the situation was that it takes 20 weeks to run a marathon, to train for one.
Yeah.
It takes 8 weeks to cover from a complete hysterectomy with like literally you can't even drive. So you can't do anything. So I'm going from essentially the operating table to training for a marathon with the like.
That's insane.
But when I make a decision to do something, everybody knows you're not stopping me. Like that's my approach to anything. And it's annoying for a lot of
that's
people.
why you fit in great with this group.
But seriously. So once I made this decision, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. And everybody around me was like, oh God, here she goes again. It's something else that's going to, and I was like, well, and my husband knows, like, this isn't something we have to talk about. I'm like, just like when we got a dog, I was like, we're getting a dog tomorrow at 7 a.m. Like, this is just like how our life
He's
goes.
like, okay.
You act quick. You know what you want and you just go
This
for
is
it.
life with me. You're either down for the ride or you're not. And so like 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be pretty good. And then sometimes you're going to have to deal with a little insanity. It's just how it goes. But like, he also knows that when I sign up for a marathon, there's going to be at least 2 weeks out of it where he has to like pick me up off the floor because I'm having so much self-doubt and insanity. So he's like, oh boy, okay, here we go.
You're like, why did I sign up for this?
Yes. So I signed up for the marathon. I looked, my sister, because she's BRCA positive. And so I have one sister that's positive and one that tested negative. And for my sister that was positive, she was like, I really want to run the Boston Marathon. And she ran other marathons with me when I needed it most. And so I said, okay, I'm going to run with you. She's like, can you even do that with your surgery? I was like, and I have an old school paper planner. So I went through my planner and I'm like, okay, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3. And I'm like, okay, I have 8 weeks for recovery, 20 weeks. Oh my God, would you look at this? Monday, October 3rd, 2022 to April 17th, 2023 is exactly 28 weeks. We're in this. So I like literally it was exactly,
That's
I had
actually insane.
That was like a sign from the universe.
well, so then I was like, well, we have to apply. And I was like, if I don't get in, I'm only applying on one team, and that's Dana-Farber, where our family's been treated. And so if you get a number and I don't, I just want you to know, like, I'll cheer for you loudly. This is what matters to me. And if I have to raise a lot of money, this is the only organization I want to raise it for. So she was like, okay, fine. So we stuck to that. So I started this process of healing. And then I was also simultaneously on this mission of figuring out what the hell my purpose is. Because everybody was like, you should start a nonprofit. You should do, and I was like, doing what? I don't understand. Like, these things already exist. There's already nonprofits for high risk women. What's my mission? What do I want out of this? So I felt really, really lost. And so I learned that you're really never lost. even when you feel you're most lost, because you're always, like I said, you're always on the right path. The things that are keeping you down are teaching you something, and that blows because it's like, well, what is cancer teaching me? What is it? And it was all preparing me for now. And if I didn't go through these things, I would not be who I am today. I would not be able to be speaking to this. And I'm really grateful for everything. I'm grateful for that lump. That lump was the catalyst to save my life. I'm grateful for the surgeries. I'm grateful for every single person that was like truly, I felt like they were a vessel of something bigger than me, always putting me there. So I was on this mission to figure out what my purpose was. So I saw a psychic medium who's also an intuitive healer, and that's better than a therapist.
We know.
Can you tell?
I know.
No, trust me, we know. We know a girl.
Yes.
I have one of each.
So I really, really loved working with her. And she just said to me, Kristina, your purpose, you're already living it. And I just was like, okay, get more specific, please. And
Ma'am?
Have them tell more.
yeah, I need a lot more coming through. And she said, when you tell your story, you'll know. So I was like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
Well, so it was really interesting.
You probably didn't know what that really meant.
No, not at all. So I sat there and I'm like, when I tell my story, I'll know. Okay.
Like she says that to everyone.
Well, no. So you're going to laugh. So my fundraising for the Boston Marathon, the fundraising minimum used to be, it was $7,500. And I hit that immediately, like in October after my surgery. I was like, boom, and everyone was like, who is this girl? Dana Farber has over 500 runners. She already hit it in October. She's never ran for us. What's going on? So Dana Farber reached out to me and they were like, can you be a panelist on our fundraising call to explain what your secret sauce is? And I was like, sure. I'll go. And so I'm the last panelist to speak, and there are over 150 people on a Zoom call. I have never been on a Zoom call so big where you have to like slide the screens multiple times over. And I'm like, I'm watching it. And I'm sitting in like literally locked in my basement being like, oh no, oh my God. And I have to speak third. So everybody in front of me speaks to the things that I was going prepared to say. And I'm like, shit. They're taking all my talking points. So like, okay, Kristina, would love to hear from you. What's been your secret sauce? And I'm like, what everybody else already said is so where I'm at. But I was like, let me just share with you all that I'm going to get really vulnerable with you because I like to get vulnerable and that brings in donations. When I let people know what I'm really going through, they feel bad for me and they donate. So here's where I'm at. And I told my story. And the chat was blowing up on the side and I really couldn't see it because I was fixated on not crying on the Zoom call. I'm like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And then I'm like, I'm sorry, everyone, if I start to cry. But I was laughing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get through this. And on that, I'm like, wow, I'm telling my story. I wonder if somebody on this call is going to give me my purpose. This is crazy. I'm telling my story. And then on that call, there was a teammate. And that teammate wanted me to speak at their fundraiser because they wanted me to speak to my connection to cancer. And I said, I would love to tell my story at your fundraiser. So I immediately am like, oh my God, maybe at this fundraising event, I'm going to find out what my purpose is. Someone in that audience is going to tell me that they like want me to go work for them or do something. And that's where I'm going. This is going to be great. So I'm going to go. And I walk in and this fundraiser is like mostly masculine, burly dudes. And I'm like, this is not my vibe for like telling my story of losing my breasts and my ovaries. So how am I going to do that? So I'm like looking at my sister who came and I'm like, okay, so film it for social because then I'll get more donations. I'm like, and
These guys are all going to be like, what?
Right. Yeah. So I actually told her, I was like, now wait by the door because I have a feeling this is going to go well and we'll just leave. We'll have a drink. We'll go. We'll be done. There was a line of guys waiting to talk to me afterwards because they were telling me like, so I've had prostate cancer and I have not felt comfortable telling people in my life that I'm going through this. And hearing you talk about losing your femininity and choosing yourself really taught me that I need to start thinking about my health and the way I talk about it to my family, because I need a sense of community. You gave me community tonight, so can I give you a hug? And I was like, oh my God. And so there were lots of people coming up to me saying the same thing, like, wow, you shared something tonight that I realized that the things that I'm insecure about sharing, I need to start sharing. And I was like, oh, my story does as well. Maybe one of these people is going to give me a call and then I'll know what my purpose
It's so funny that you kept thinking like there was something else, but it sounds like sharing your story is your purpose and is your journey.
It is. But the thing is that while I was doing it, I was looking for something externally the entire time and not realizing it was already inside of me.
You had it.
But here's the best part. The next day, it was like, okay, now Channel 5's coming to your house and doing an ABC episode for you for the Boston Marathon, because this is the first year that Channel 5 is taking over for the coverage of the Boston Marathon. So someone will be at your house tomorrow to record this, blah, 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 and you'll tell your story. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to find my purpose. My story's being told on television.
Yeah, it's
and
your story.
Yeah, but it was funny. So as it gets told, I'm assuming that then someone's going to knock on my door with my purpose.
You kept waiting.
And I kept waiting. And then Dana-Farber calls me and they're like, so Kristina would love for you to tell your story.
Oh my gosh,
the
the
night.
message keeps coming.
No, like literally, like
the universe is like, are you going to get it yet?
No, I wasn't.
Smacking you in the
I
face.
wasn't. And I was literally calling up the psychic medium and she's laughing, being like, oh my God, Kristina.
She's like, this lady.
So
How many
literally,
times did I tell her?
so I tell my story the night before the Boston Marathon in front of over 1,000 people. And as I'm telling my story, you have to understand too, there are patient partners that are 7 years. My patient partner had cancer at 7 years old, same age as my daughter, sitting next to me, holding my hand. And I now have to get up and tell my story. But as we're sitting there, they put on the in memoriam for children who have passed from the same disease she has. And as that's going on the screen, they're like, and now introducing Kristina Coccoluto. And I'm like, oh my God, nobody told me I have to follow this. So now I have to tell my story here. And so my job was to unite the room. And I decided whatever's highest and best is just going to come through me and I'm going to deliver what I need to. And as I felt like I was going to use my story in order to bring everybody together in the name of cancer research, over 1,000 people stood up as soon as I was done, sobbing and clapping their hands together. And I just looked and I was like, oh my God, this is my purpose.
You knew.
And I
That's
literally,
the moment you knew?
took my breath away. And my kids were the first ones to hug. I cry over that. My kids were the first ones to hug me. And it was like that moment of just like, oh, I have to keep going. And I did not.
telling your story.
Yeah, because it's for them too. And they got to see that moment. And it was blind. It's a blind moment when you don't know what you're doing, but you know you have to keep going. That's where I'm doing it right now. I'm just doing it.
You're amazing. You got me.
I know.
Yeah,
Tina,
I know.
that's amazing.
It's taken a turn tonight.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
No.
But that's okay. So back to the Today Show.
Oh yeah.
So I also didn't mention that because I ran the marathon after surgery, you're definitely not supposed to have tools go through your hips and then run a surgery. So I was really injured and I did not run on land from January until the marathon. So I went 4 months without running and I went into a pool and I did fluid running in the deep end of a pool with a flotation device with the elderly at the YMCA.
Again, they were looking over like,
what is this girl doing? This outlier here once again. So I decided that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just do whatever I can to cross that finish line. And even if I don't cross the finish line and then I just make it past Zoe at mile 17, she needs to see me do this. So Zoe was my patient partner with cancer. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. So I crossed the finish line and fluid running felt like it was their greatest success because there's this woman that went from the operating room to cross the world's hardest marathon only using their device. So a year has gone by since this occurred, right? Mm-hmm. Fluid running pitched my story to the Today Show. Wow. And all of a sudden, randomly, I get this phone call being like, hey.
Randomly, but not.
But at
yeah,
this,
you're like, it's like a number from New York. You're like, is this spam?
Right.
Should I pick it
Is
up?
this Oprah?
But it was funny because it wasn't me doing it. It was like and so here's the other thing is if you do read the article's not about fluid running. The article's my story.
About you.
No, yeah.
And I was shocked that fluid running was like, no, the woman, Jen, the CEO who believed in me and dealt with this entire aspect of I called her frantically. She said flat out, no, I want to share your story because it's important for people to see someone who can overcome. And it was about like showing my story and knowing that that was the product to go with it, because it wasn't about fluid running. It was about the overcoming adversity.
Right. Okay, so you're talking about sharing your story, and you do a lot of sharing your story on Instagram. And I know we talk a lot about imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel that as you're sitting? I mean, you are doing all these really legitimate things, but do you ever like question, like, is this the right path? Is this what no, it's hit you on the head?
So like before that, yes. Like when someone would, I mean, you heard me being like, oh, what's my
story?
purpose?
Yeah.
Like over and over again as I'm telling me. So now there's a lot of clarity. I just know now that, so I will tell you this, I do not have a plan. There's no business plan. There's no one coming in, checking in boxes, being like, and now we do this, and here we go there.
You and I talked about that. I think we should say that offline. You and I talked about that, and that is so powerful, because I was like, what's next for you? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, no, I have a
figuring it out.
zillion
We're going
things.
to get there.
No, but like, here's the thing. So I can tell you what I think about all of the time. Like
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to be on more stages.
Yes.
I know that.
You're
I'm
visualizing it.
Oh yeah, no, it's already happened. It's in the future. I'm already there. I already know I'm writing a book. I already know that. And so I'm starting the process of a lot of these things, but I just already know in my heart that it's not because, oh, everyone needs to see me. There's parts of that, but there's what it is you need to see me winning because I was losing for a really long time, because you can win too. And I know who I'm serving. I know that. I know who I'm serving. I know who needs to see it. And that's why I won't stop.
I think you maybe in a way underestimate you, because I think more people see you that are not even dealing with this, that have not been impacted by what you've gone through, and they are benefiting from hearing your message.
I agree.
Truly.
So that's part of it. But I think that there's a piece of look at the three of you in the sense, there's a piece of you when you put yourself out there and you don't know when someone sees you, how they're receiving you.
Yeah.
That's where there's parts of things where
Yeah.
it's just like, so how's this going? You know? And so it's great. If you have 1,000 people stand up and applause, you feel it. But on this end, there's no one receiving you that you can see.
Right.
And so that becomes like the piece of like, so how's this going for everybody? And they're like, wow. So when someone gives you, so this is what I always love to say. If you're seeing someone do something and you're like, damn, she's good, say it.
Say it.
Yes.
Say it.
I feel like
So
you do
important.
that to us, and I feel like I try to do that to you because exactly.
And I've started trying to do it to other women or anyone that I see that's doing
No,
something
women
cool.
only.
And
Fuck the men.
We'll do it to anybody.
Sorry, dads.
But
Where are the dads?
There's also the flip side. Like you have faced criticism of people like almost judging you for telling your Previvor story.
Yes.
And like what do you say to them? Or like
Yeah.
So the same thing I now
Talk to the haters.
the haters, baby.
Sorry to have to go there, but we kind of touched on the beginning, and it's like there's supportive people, but then there's also people who just aren't along to support other people.
So there's two parts, right? So there's the part of me that the healed version of me that will tell you, I know that that's someone's insecurities loud. If you're looking at me winning and it's reflecting you losing, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Have fun watching me win. So where it comes down, like you're just gonna keep like grab your popcorn because I'm not and it's not an ego aspect. It's like grab the popcorn because
Yeah, like you're not going to stop me, you internet troll. Like,
Isn't
I'm gonna
this
actually
reminding
keep
you?
going.
These guys laugh at me, but the Ozarks, Ruth on the Ozarks. There's this like clip.
I'm like,
maybe
no, me
maybe
neither.
that's the clip we're making tonight. But it's like when she yells at everyone, and she's like, "If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me."
I know that Instagram clip, but like
Oh, that's what's
That
happening
is
tonight.
like me embodied. I feel like that is you embodied.
So I feel like I don't want anybody to feel like, so this is the thing, like we talked about at the beginning, everybody can win. It's just, if you see somebody else winning, it does not mean you're losing. That's just wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a race. Okay. So here's the other thing too. We're also, it begins when high school ends. because your whole life you're on the same playing field as everybody else, and everybody knows what's next. And then you go into the next grade, and then you go here, and then you go there. And then once you graduate high school, what happens? It's like, oh, well, she's maybe going to go here, and then he's going to go there. And well, they're getting married first, and they had a baby. Did you know so-and-so had a kid? And you feel the level of like, oh, I need to be doing that. Oh, where am I? And the insecurities build and build and build. And sometimes we grow and sometimes we don't. And if you're not growing and you're not healing, well, then you're going to be stuck being a miserable son of a bitch watching everybody else who is.
So true.
So if you're stuck in the victim mindset, take a mirror and have that moment and be like, oh my God, where do I begin? And you begin by saying, how come I struggle being seen? Where was I not seen? Where did I not see myself? And that's like when you kind of look and have that mirror back at you.
Yeah.
I should have went to school to be a therapist.
Seriously, you should have. I'm like, hey, what are you doing every Tuesday?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm like, can I just meet for coffee? Like this?
I feel like you might have retreats in the future too. You should start visioning that.
Whoa.
Yeah, yoga retreats.
There'll be travel
something.
ones, sweeties.
I like that.
we're in.
Send us the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom trip.
We're coming.
Mom trip. It'll be a mom's week out.
We've changed the name of our podcast.
Think how powerful like this could be in corporate America, where you're like
truly.
bringing women who are feeling defeated or whatever.
But we're all defeated. There are all of us that feel defeated. Like, and just in general, guys feel defeated too, because we just are trying. Everybody's just trying to do their best.
true.
And the really where it comes down to, I told you guys, this is a 2-hour episode, but
We love that. But there's gold.
This is
There's
great.
gold
Keep
left
going.
and right.
Yeah.
So
But the reality is that we're all trying our best, and we all want. There's a part of when you're an adult, you're becoming more of yourself, and as you connect back to yourself, it's scary. That's why imposter syndrome comes up. That's why we feel those things, because you're like, is this who I am? I don't know who I am. Where am I? And when you start to really truly realize, like I said with the car analogy, you're the driver. Sometimes it feels like somebody else is taking the wheel, and we do become other people. But to bring it back to yourself, when you realize you're the driver, when you're choosing you, when you're healing, when you're taking yourself out of the victimhood mindset, and when you're really starting to be the highest and best version of yourself, you're really not going to give a shit what anybody else has to say. You're not. It's not going to stop you, because you're just going to keep going.
boom.
You're welcome.
Ignore everybody.
Should we do some fun questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do a couple fun
absolutely.
ones. Okay, so what do you listen to while running?
Mel Robbins always. Oh, love Mel Robbins.
God,
Okay, so
she's the
you're a
best.
podcast listener while you run?
Yeah.
Not music.
My friend who ran Chicago and Boston and is now running Boston again, podcasts only.
Okay, I can only listen to podcasts like when I'm laying in bed or when I'm driving. If I'm
Podcasts.
running, I need like pump up music.
Sometimes it's gonna make me sound like a total sociopath. Sometimes I do no music at all. Like when I run a
like
marathon, I don't run. I don't
No, I actually
marathon.
I
I don't
actually
have
get
any
that.
music.
It's just
actually
yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
You're
Me
not.
too.
I agree with that. Maybe
like
we're all
to-
sociopaths.
Yeah, we're all
No, it's
psychos
not
together. No, but I look clearly.
Although today at the gym, man, I was listening. You guys saw me on Instagram. I was listening to like Chop Suey, System of a Down, and I was like, yes.
Sometimes
changes.
you need those things, but like most of the time, like some days I'll need a pump up mix. So when I like old school music. Like I'm gonna sound like such an fart when I say this, but I'm like the shit today just doesn't do it for me. I would say like I love Michael Jackson. Like I'll put on old school beats like that. Like I'm like, all right, I like car karaoke is my type vibe of when I run, and it's just usually because sometimes I'll start singing or whatever. But the reality is I like to be with my thoughts, and that's like where I quiet the noise, and really that's good for me. And I should also say that I do not like running.
Wait, I love that you just said that, because you and I have talked about, I'm like, one day I'll run a marathon.
Yes,
And I'm
you
like,
can.
no,
Everyone can run a
I
marathon
can't,
if you
I can't,
want
I
to.
can't.
Yeah.
I had never ran more than 3 miles before I ran a marathon.
What?
Yeah. Before I started training for one. Yeah.
That's
I just
wild.
decided, I made the choice. I was like, well, I used to watch every year the Boston Marathon, and I would watch them and be like, someday I want to do that shit. That looks so
Yeah,
fun.
I agree.
And when you watch it, it's like, so what's in you to make you do that? And it's not the people that are fast. It's like the lady that shits herself and it's like still going, you know, but that's like the true, like you're
badass.
like, what makes that lady want to keep running? Like I would be like dead, you know what I mean? Like dying somewhere and she's still running as she shit herself. Like there's got to be a reason, whatever she's having, I guess I want
Like
some.
no one's helping her.
No,
by the way.
No, that actually was like, it was an elite runner.
Yeah.
Oh no, this happens
runner.
to a lot of people all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Wait
it's a
till you get to the
normal
porta
thing.
potties.
Oh no, because there's a
You
long
can't,
line for those, and
sometimes
sometimes
you
it's
can't, man.
because your intestines are rubbing together while you run. They just let go because they're so relaxed for a certain amount of
I'm
time.
not so sure I want to ever run a
Yes, you
marathon now.
do.
Run a couple
We all
halves.
run one together.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm in.
no, I don't know about that. I'll do a
Let's
half.
go.
I don't
All
know if
right,
I'll do
I'm
a
in.
full.
Chicago.
We're all going to Berlin.
Berlin this
Dude, that
September.
sounds like
Come on.
Oh gosh,
It's Oktoberfest.
That's soon.
Okay, I'll be there cheering on.
All right, what's your drink of choice if you're having a night out?
Oh, okay. I was like, drink of choice is always coffee. I'm a mom. But cocktail, we're saying. Okay.
Yeah, cocktail choice.
Okay. I don't want to admit this.
You could admit it.
I'm really trashy. I love a rum and Coke.
Wait, that's the best answer I've ever heard. We're talking to Miss Cosmo over here.
No.
I thought that's what you were going to say. I was
Me too.
preparing myself. to
Everybody
defend
like
it.
that?
says-
No, a
everybody
rum
always
and
says
Coke.
I'm like,
No.
oh, I'll have a rum and Coke.
Like a
And-
rum and Coke, not a rum and Diet Coke.
No. Oh, I don't know. I'm like full sugar all the way.
Me too.
I'm gonna
You
drink
guys
sodas.
love regular Coke.
I know.
Me too.
If I drink a regular Coke, like I'll die. No, thank you. It's so sweet. Yes, I can't take it.
Oh yeah.
Guys,
I was
the
afraid
caffeine
yesterday
will have me
when
up
I was
all
delivering
night.
your Diet Coke. I like looked at the top of that lid, being like, I hope they didn't fuck this up because if I'm drinking the Diet Coke, I'm going to be so disappointed. I love regular Coke.
Who is this weirdo?
I'm a weirdo.
That's the best drink ever.
Wow.
All right. What's a hobby you enjoy?
Besides running.
Yeah, you can't say
not- I
running.
don't
'cause she
enjoy it.
doesn't
Okay,
enjoy
okay,
it.
okay. That you
She doesn't
actually
enjoy it.
enjoy.
So I am a super nerd and I love gardening.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we share that love with you.
I love gardening.
Did you know that?
No.
I'm not a gardener.
We didn't. We took a year off.
We took it last year. I took off in
Yeah, we took
all
a year off.
honesty, but during COVID, John built me the most magical garden back there. And then when we did our house renovation, it got knocked down. But it was like a big, like Studio
gate.
McGee-esque
Oh,
It
cool
was
garden.
great. Got to get it again.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have John come build one at my house because mine's not just like thrown together. But like I'm like a total Italian girl. I'm like, we have 120 tomato plants. Like
You
I
need like a table in the middle of the garden. That's
I
what
would
the people
love
are
to,
doing.
yeah, with like the bistro lights hanging
Yes.
and everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
when
see
I'm
that
in my
for you.
garden, I don't want to attract people. I want to be by myself. That's where I love
yeah.
it. I'm like, I'm so like,
I
ooh,
get
this is
that.
when I'm there. It's like I'm like, I become like a super nature person. I love bird watching. I'm like, I'm definitely going through menopause.
I feel like I'm
You are 51 year
I
old.
am 51 really in real life. Yes. I'm lying to you all. No, but truly, I love being outside and connecting with nature. I do. And I'm not like, and as I say that with my fake nails and fake eyelashes,
It's fine.
full glam.
It's all right. You
always.
gotta go
You
high
can
low.
have- you
High
can
low.
have
You need
both.
a good mix of things in
Yeah.
your life. I
You
feel
can
like.
have
exactly. Like that's
Yeah.
why it's like Botox and green juice. It's the way to be.
No, I would agree.
Yeah,
exactly.
Only organic vegetables.
We never would
Exactly,
microwave
and
our
Botox.
Tupperware, but Jesus, inject us.
You have to
Yes.
counterbalance the Botox.
You lay there and it's like, so how many units are we doing today? I'm like, make me look like Elsa. I'm frozen.
Oh my gosh. I was just telling the girls, I thought I didn't get a lot of Botox. And then recently Dr. Wilkin was like, you get the same amount. And I was like, wait, I get that much.
You got to be, you got strong facial expressions.
Yeah, that's an
Oh,
understatement.
and I can't right now. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. I feel like this has been the most amazing episode.
This
No,
was fun.
truly such an inspiration.
Yeah.
I can't thank you
Aw,
enough
thank
for
you.
taking
I'm so glad
the
that I
time.
got to come. It's not. This is fun. I will be back.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
No,
Talk
truly,
all night.
I feel like there has to be a part 2. And Kristina, truly, we cannot wait to see what's next for you.
I feel the same about you guys. I genuinely, first of all, I know you want to end this, but I'm going to say this.
She's like, no, I want to get to the 2 hour mark.
No, listen, I want you to know this. When you guys were teasing this podcast, I was watching. I'm like, they're dropping a champagne line.
know,
I'm
you
manifesting
said
that
that.
for you. This is coming. You guys
I'm
are gonna have your own.
manifesting
That's
that
on the
too.
list.
So
Thank you
I
for
know
saying that. That's on our list.
Well, I knew it was before. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna drop a champagne line.
We
Like,
wrote
that's what I
it.
thought.
We wrote it down.
We did write it down.
It's on one of our goals.
You're already visualizing it. It's already happened.
Yeah, it's happening.
The future, you guys are so excited for that label to come out. Yay.
I see like more podcasts in your future, books. I know we've talked about this and you said it, and then I see like big stages.
Yeah, big inspirational speeches. You are such a great speaker, and like all of your quotes are truly unreal.
Not everyone having a podcast, not everyone's good at speaking. You're very good at it. So
I talk to myself all the time.
Well, we're happy you got to talk to our community.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
To Mom's Night Out.
Have a good night.
Good night.